Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Monday, April 10th.
Flagler County did hit a major employment milestone.
Greg Blase, president and CEO of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce, says the county now has more than 50,000 residents working.
For quite some time, we've been building up to this 49,000 late last year. Now we are happy to report that Flagler County has over 50,000 employed residents. And although that's a welcome milestone to celebrate, we still have more progress to make as we look forward to the future growth in population and jobs.
Blase says it's also important to point out
the population, as that grows, so too are the number of jobs and the workforce. So we've got some really good news there that it's not just the population growing, it is also the jobs as well. The unemployment rate came in at 3.2%, which is the same as it was last month. So that's not a surprise. We noticed that we've got some fluctuation on some of the figures with regards to the labor force and the number of people actually working. So those numbers have gone up and down over the last couple of months, but that's to be expected. Right now, we're just waiting for the weather to warm up and for the tourism season to kick in, and we expect to see a lot of strong hiring this summer, all things remaining equal, which means no major recession, hopefully. So if that doesn't happen, we're in pretty good position going into the busy summer travel season here in Flagler County.
This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you. Last Thursday, the Florida Supreme Court denied the latest efforts of convicted killer Louis Gaskin to avoid execution. Gaskin argued that executing him after more than 30 years on death row violated the Eighth Amendment's prohibition of cruel and unusual punishment. However, the court rejected that argument. The Florida Supreme Court's decision means that Gaskin's execution is now likely to proceed as scheduled. Louis Gaskin murdered Robert and Georgette Sternfels inside their home in Palm Coast in December of 1989. Gaskin will be lawfully put to death on Wednesday at 6 in the evening at the Florida State Prison in Stark. Florida enacts an affordable housing bill to fund programs and incentivize developers with tax breaks.
19th District Representative and Speaker of the House Paul Renner says the bill covers more than just housing for low-income families.
So people hear affordable housing, they think of Section 8, the projects. This is more your cops, your teachers, your nurses, people that are absolutely critical to a successful community, having the ability to afford housing. People that we depend on, again, to have a healthy, safe society can't afford to live there. They've got to drive, an hour and a half each way to get to work.
The measure goes beyond the initial construction phase.
What you see happening sometimes is a developer comes in, they know how to run property and manage it, and it's very nice for a while. And then you get to a point in that subsidized housing, because it's discounted, it no longer makes any kind of financial sense, and so it gets flipped over to a nonprofit that may not know how to really manage property, and it becomes perhaps more blighted. So the idea is to really stimulate more private capital coming into the market so the taxpayers aren't on the hook for all of this housing.
For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Rich Petchke.
A suspected thief doesn't get far.
Recently, Flagler County Sheriff's deputies responded to a shoplifting in progress at Target on State Road 100 that became an unusual theft. Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
An individual walked into Target, stole an electric Razor scooter, went onto the front sidewalk in front of Target and started putting it together, and he never paid for it. So sheriff's deputies were called, and obviously we arrested this individual. Obviously, he thought he was from a state that you can just walk into a store, steal what you want, and leave. Well, he found out that this is a free state of Florida, and we arrest people for doing that so businesses can stay in business. The scooter was recovered, and he got a ride, all right, a one-way trip in the back seat to the Green Roof Inn.
The man was identified as Patrick Vander Meiden Miller and was placed under arrest for petty theft. When he was searched, deputies found drugs in his pocket. He's in the Sheriff Perry Hall Inmate Detention Facility and is being held on a $2,000 bond. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
What does it mean to carry a concealed weapon without a license?
Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley said on a recent episode of the Business Report that it means be law-abiding.
If you can lawfully carry a gun, you do not have to go get a license. to carry concealed in Florida.
He said that legislation that the governor signed means that some criminals carry stolen guns without a license. Law-abiding Florida residents should not have to get a license to carry a gun. Sheriff Staley said that there are about 36 states in the United States that allow constitutional carry. The Business Report is on WNZF on Saturday mornings at 10 and on the Flagler radio app. Tomorrow, a bad guy with a gun. From the WNZF newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.